Week 14. Week 14, Thursday night football, Patriots versus Steelers. And I think most playoffs are starting either this week or next week. Jed, Tommy in Chicago, we all just got back, or a couple of us just got back from 4 days in Orlando in Disney World. So it was a good time. Are you watching the game, guys?
I'm about to turn it on. I don't have it on yet, but I was looking because our league, we don't start this week. Our playoffs are next week.
Yeah, start next week. So that's the other question I was going to ask you is like, how long do you guys like the fact that playoffs are later, or do you guys rather have it earlier?
Jed, I wish I was just complaining to Jimmy. Look, I have a lineup in one of my other leagues: Keenan Allen, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Kyren Williams, Calvin Ridley, Javonte Williams, Chad, Pickens, Walker, Aaron Jones. Too many guys are out injured for weeks and weeks. Our playoffs start next week. I am out of the playoff hunt with such a good lineup. I am very frustrated and disappointed.
I'm glad, because you look at certain lineups, and I know what his strategy is. His strategy is he's going to pick up some of these players who are injured, and he's going to sneak in the playoffs, and he's going to try to win it, right, and roll the dice on it. And his team is too strong. I'm kind of glad that actually he's not in it this year.
I like actually when teams, when leagues have playoffs a little bit earlier. I didn't realize, I was looking at one of my leagues, the championship is week 17. And that's my biggest pet peeve. I hate that because week 17, there's so many teams that just sit their stars. Like they know that they're not, it's inconsequential, and that I hate to lose that way. So I think that's kind of, I personally like it a little bit earlier, but I don't think any of my leagues start this week, actually. Most of my leagues start next week.
No, actually, so I'm even looking at our Dynasty League, right? This week we don't start. Next week it's quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Our finals are not until week 17, right?
Yes,
You're right, because by then, some of these guys are not even playing anymore.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm a little bit worried about that. I don't know. I'll have to see.
Yeah. Next year, we should move it to week 16 and end.
I thought it was. I thought last year
I thought it was too. You know what?
17.
I didn't really check. And sometimes, like one of my other leagues, I'm the commissioner for it, and I didn't check. And I ran out of money because I found out that every time you bid on a player, you have to do at least $1. And I ran out of money. So
that's pretty funny.
Well, it's not as bad as the one that Jimmy and I are on with our Japan friends for NBA basketball. With that one, you can't just plug and play different players. Yeah. You got to put a claim on the player, but at the same time, I need my player to play today because I need stuff. And so it's terrible. It really is terrible.
Yeah. Anyways, the Patriots are winning 7-3. Bailey Zappi is the starting quarterback. Ezekiel Elliott has run for 4 carries, 7 yards, and the leading rusher is Zappi with 11 yards.
Look, right now they are tied, or they're just a couple percentage points right behind Carolina. I need New England Patriots to win for Carolina to continue to get that top spot because the Bears get that top spot.
Yeah. I don't know if this is true, and I know we have to jump this football talk, but did you hear that Marvin Harrison, there's a slight possibility that he might stay in Ohio State?
What?
NIL deals. He's getting like $20 million, like some crazy amount.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting.
So I don't know if that's true or not, but I at least was reading about that today.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've heard more and more how basically people arguing that it doesn't make sense for the Bears to take Harrison Jr. because, it's true. Like a wide receiver doesn't really put you over the top to win a Super Bowl. So they were saying like the top 10, when you look at wide receivers drafted in the top 10, none of them like turned into Super Bowl champs like after that draft. So I think it's a pretty good argument. Like offense isn't necessarily what you need to go to the
I
next
don't know.
level.
Marvin Harrison Jr. He's pretty
Oh,
good.
I love him. I love him.
Yeah.
I think he's once in a lot. I think he's like a Calvin Johnson type.
Yeah,
So
me too.
I would love to get him, but I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, selfishly, I would love to watch him. That's my
Yeah.
problem is
Yeah.
I would love to say Marvin Harrison is a Chicago Bear. But
Oh, yeah.
knowing the Bears and their track record with wide receivers, they're gonna mess him up.
That's true. Our track record with wide receivers is terrible.
Well, I do hope that they'll bring him Jim Harbaugh. I want to see Jim Harbaugh head coach more than I would like to see Marvin Harrison.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Yeah, our coach is horrible. We need to get rid of the coach.
Hey, couple news and notes. Let's start with that, and we can see what the score looks like. Justin Jefferson full practice this week. Too late for Justin Jefferson to help out some of these teams.
Well, not this week. I mean, and he said he needs to get to 1,000 yards, so he's motivated. So if you've got him and you kept him, kudos. You should definitely put him in there.
Yeah, and especially if you have Justin Jefferson and you have a good position in the playoffs. Hey, look, give him 1 week right before the playoffs, and then he's ready for the playoffs next week.
Yeah. Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker were limited this week, but they both came back to practice. But as I was reading, there's like, it doesn't really mean anything. Like Pete Carroll might elect to not play one of them. But Tom, are you playing Kenneth Walker this week?
Well, I'm going to see exactly what happens as we sit there. Hunter Henry got a touchdown, and here they are 14-3. But I'm hoping that Kenneth Walker will at least play. Well, let's see what happens on Friday. Is who practices more, and then Saturday, right before the lineups, I'll start plugging and playing different people in there.
By the way, you can tell we're all rooting for the Patriots to win this week, so that Carolina's going to get the number one, so the Bears can get their number one.
Yeah, that's right.
By the way, did you guys watch the Cincinnati game last week?
Dude, that Bengals Jags game. Yeah. So I had two different leagues that changed completely the matchups. So in one league, I was playing against Joe Mixon, and he went nuts. He had 3 touchdowns. So that totally screwed things up. And then in another league, Trevor Lawrence had great numbers before he got hurt. So it was a great last game to end because it changed a lot of fantasy matchups.
Do you guys, Jake Browning did pretty well. Tom, do you think that he's the real deal? Like, is he somebody that you would pick up and start?
Well, let's see what happens. A lot of times he was a backup. There wasn't too much film on him as well, too. And so let's see what happens after the game film and the defenses read him. And so if you continue, look, Dobbs did really well the first couple of weeks, but then they started watching more game film and he's struggled. Let's see what happens with this one.
That's my one hesitation with Justin Jefferson is Dobbs. Dobbs has to get back to what he was looking like that first couple of weeks. Because Addison hasn't been good. If you've had Addison, I've been sitting him because after Dobbs' first game, he hasn't been good.
Jordan Addison. Yeah. But maybe this week with Justin Jefferson coming back, right?
Yeah.
Release some pressure off of Addison. Addison will do pretty well.
Yeah.
So Joshua Palmer, limited in Thursday's practice, may potentially come off the IR. Quentin Johnson has not done well as his replacement. Yeah. What do you think about
the Los Angeles Chargers in general under Kellen Moore has been terrible?
Yeah.
I mean, look, they were so much better last year without Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore came from Dallas. He was supposed to be this hotshot offensive coordinator. Hey, look, maybe he was the problem because Dallas is doing so well without Kellen Moore, and the Chargers are having the same problem that Dallas had last year.
Oh, the Chargers are easily, I think, the most disappointing team.
Disappointing team this year, right?
I mean, if you have Austin Eckler, I have Austin Eckler. He's been terrible. They have not used him. He's not even top 10 as running back. Keenan Allen's been pretty good. Justin Herbert's been okay, but the Chargers in general, just big disappointment.
Yeah. But even with Keenan Allen, my problem with Keenan Allen, I've had it in a couple of leagues. He has some really, really great games. But yet last week when I really needed him most, he got me 9 points.
Well, that was a tough game. They played New England, right? And got blanked. They didn't score any points.
Yeah. On a separate note, the person who I get frustrated with the most, and I grudgingly picked him, and then now he's carried me is Tyreek Hill. in the
he's awesome.
12-team league. I don't like Tyreek Hill in the past because he had some really good games and really bad games, but man, he is consistently
he's good.
this year.
Well, that's why you're number one in that league, Tom.
Yeah,
because you have Tyreek Hill. Yeah.
No, Tyreek Hill. You know how every year they say which player is the most on the championship teams? It's got to be Tyreek Hill this year.
Yeah.
Like he is.
Well, this year is not Patrick
good.
Mahomes.
Yes, definitely not Mahomes. Dude, Tyreek Hill is. That's why I was asking you guys, because I don't know if you saw that.
Randy Moss.
Yeah, no. Yeah, so Tom Brady came out and said, if I had Randy Moss and Chad Ochocinco prime, he's like, I could score 35 points in today's NFL. And I was thinking, well, what would you take those guys, or would you take Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson? And I think I would take Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson because Tyreek Hill's speed is nobody can touch his speed. And then Justin Jefferson is just his hands and his route running. It's like perfect. So I don't know.
Hey, honestly, in that 12-team league, it's Tyreek Hill and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Yeah. All my other look, I have Breece Hall, who's been terrible. Keaton Mitchell has been terrible. And CJ Stroud's my starting quarterback. But those two have carried me all week, all year. And I'm literally 11-2 and sitting there in a nice playoff position in the number one spot.
Well, I was thinking about my dynasty league. I chose Garrett Wilson over Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now I'm kicking myself because I should have kept an Amon-Ra St. Brown instead of Garrett Wilson. But who knew that what's his name is going to be out? And
you got to be careful. You might not want to drop him because next year with Rodgers coming back, Garrett Wilson could be good. I still like Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. I still think they're okay.
By the way, what do you guys think about Austin Eckler? Number two draft pick, right? But right now, Staley says there's competition for carries is going to be something we're looking at. So he is not ruled out that they might play another running back along with Eckler.
Wow. I just think they're misusing him. I mean, the guy has been so good for so many years. I don't think he's not that old. So I don't feel like that's the issue, but I don't know. We'll see.
But yet at the same time, Jed, you're expecting him to do better at a contract year.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times how disappointing he is, and maybe a lot of times during misusing him, but you will expect a little bit more coming out of a contract year for him.
Yeah.
Agree.
Tom, Breece Hall, he missed Thursday's practice, and there's speculation that right now Dalvin Cook will start. Are you playing Breece Hall?
Oh, yeah, I'm still playing Breece Hall because at the end of the day, Dalvin Cook stinks. And so a lot of times I'll still play Breece Hall.
Yeah.
And you had a good down to Breece Hall or Dameon Pierce. Who are you going to pick? Breece Hall.
Hey, Dameon Pierce had a touchdown last week. Yeah. And so did Singletary. But I was going to say also Sam Laporta. Did you guys see Sam Laporta had a great game last week? It's like over 100 yards. I think
he's going to be number one tight end here in the next few years, right? Whichever starts to go down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Christian Watson most likely will not play week 14. So, and he's been doing pretty well. Him and Jordan Love. Actually, Jordan Love is.
Oh, the Packers looked good. I hate admitting it, but the Packers looked good.
Yeah. But that's my problem with Christian Watson. He's so undependable. That was his thing last year, in and out of the lineup all the time. And look, when he plays great for 3-4 weeks, and then he's out of the lineup again for a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Christian Kirk. This is somebody that's on the waiver wires a lot. Christian Kirk likely sidelined for the next few weeks because of an injury. Zay Jones is out there. Would you guys, if you guys need a wide receiver, would you look at Zay Jones? He's available in almost 80% of the leagues out there right now. Tom?
Not really. As you guys talk, who's the other guy? Was it Perry Washington that also played as well too? He was really good.
Perry Washington. I didn't even hear about him.
All right. As you guys talk, I'm going to go bring him up as well.
So there's two wide receivers that I think is actually three, right? Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Brandon Cooks, Elijah Moore, Zay Jones. Oh, and also Noah Brown. Those four, if you pick one of them up, I actually can make the argument that they can potentially help you in a championship in the playoffs.
No, I would go with Parker Washington, not Perry Washington. Parker Washington, 6 catches, 61 yards, 1 touchdown. Calvin Ridley's a free agent. Christian Kirk is coming off a groin injury, or a lot of times. Pay attention. They were looking at Parker Washington. 6 catches, 61 yards, and a touchdown.
I don't know. I still like Zay Jones. I still feel like Zay Jones. I mean, remember, Zay Jones in the first week was somebody that they relied on. He did pretty well. He scored double-digit fantasy points, and they might just bring him back again.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of Jacksonville, you know who's cooled down a lot? Travis Etienne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I started him too. That hurt me. You know who's actually the wide receiver I think nobody's talking about, who's been very consistent. You guys should check out his stats, is Michael Pittman. And the main the thing with Pittman is his number of catches. If you're in a league that gives a point per catch or half a point per catch, he gets at least 10 catches every game. So that's been carrying him.
PPR wise, Michael Pittman, he doesn't always get the yardage, but he sure gets you your catches.
And even with the change in quarterback, like it was no drop.
Well, Minshew's been pretty good. I mean, he doesn't win. Yeah, Minshew knows how to play those, ball, play. So, yeah. Let's see. Anything else? I
was gonna say so I didn't think of wide receiver, but the other one I think was a little bit of a surprise was on Arizona, the tight end, McBride. He had 8 receptions, 89 yards and a touchdown. So I think with Murray back, and they're playing him like they're not holding back, and he's got to have someone catching. I mean, McBride is someone you might see him out there.
Yeah.
Hey, totally. To the point they got rid of Zach Ertz because McBride was doing so well.
Yep. Well, I also think Zach Ertz asked for a trade because he wanted to go on make one more run for a championship. So I'm sure he's looking at it and said, McBride's the future. I need to go somewhere else. Yeah. 14-3 still. Second quarter, 11 minutes left. Hey, going to waiver wires, are there certain players? I've got a list of waiver wires players that are available out there, but are you guys looking at anybody or paying attention to anybody?
Yeah, Parker Washington.
Have you picked him up?
No, not yet. Because there's not doing players for me to draw. All my guys are coming back, but Parker Washington is someone that you need to look at. And also in the Houston with Tank Dell gone, take a quick look at the guy that I'm looking at, Brevin Jordan. Brevin Jordan, wide receiver, 3 catches, 64 yards. Nico Collins is the stud wide receiver, but at the same time, Brico Jordan is the other one opposite playing and taking over Tank Dell's spot.
Would you rather take a chance on Noah Brown instead?
We'll see what happens. Noah Brown hasn't. Look, he's gotten some chances. Not really good. I take a quick look and see. Pay attention to Brevin Jordan.
Yeah.
Honestly, for me, because in 2 of my 3 leagues, I'm either clinched or at the top. So I'm actually looking at kickers and defenses because I'm just wanting to really shore up right before the start of the playoffs to make sure. I mean, if you're not careful, you can get bit, especially with defenses. You could get stuck. Like, for example, Philadelphia has been a good defense. Man, if you had Philadelphia last week, they got destroyed. So that didn't get you any points. So you got to be really careful. I like carrying 2 defenses into the playoffs so that I can at least pick between 2.
Yeah. And kickers, is there a particular kicker out on the waiver wire that you say, hey, look, I mean, is it the Pittsburgh kicker? Is it Zerloin from the New York Jets? Who's a kicker that you're looking at?
Yeah, I actually just picked up the Cincinnati kicker, McPherson. I think because he was coming off a bye, so he's in fact, I'm looking in one of our leagues. Oh no, this isn't our. Yeah, I think in our league he's available because people dropped him because of the bye. He had a great last game. So if you're looking for a kicker, that's the other thing is coming off the last week's buys. A lot of people, because they're desperate to get in the playoffs, they dropped pretty good players. So you want to go out there and check.
Speaking of kickers, did you see who retired today?
Yeah,
49ers, former Chicago.
Yes, the
Robbie Gould. He retired.
Yep. I saw that.
He was good. I like him. I like Robbie Gould.
Yeah.
Here I've got a couple of people I'm paying attention to that's on the waiver wires a lot that could potentially help. I think actually Roshan Johnson, because I think there's so much uncertainty with the running back situation with the Bears. Keaton Mitchell, I actually can see if something happens tomorrow to any of the 2 running backs. For Baltimore, Keaton Mitchell is somebody to target. I also think that Tajay Spears, I don't know what's his name. Derrick Henry's in concussion protocol, so I think that Tajay Spears is somebody.
Spears had a good game last week too.
Yeah. I actually think. Look, I don't know what's going to happen to Henry. My guess is if I had to pick somebody, Spears is going to be your running back for the Titans. And then
Yeah.
also, yeah. So, all right. Let's see.
Man,
Game.
McPherson is available in our league. So I was just looking, but I've got Elliott from Philadelphia as my kicker, which is pretty good. So I'm not going to switch.
Yeah. Let's look at a couple games. First one, Rams versus Ravens. Who do you guys think? Do you guys Cooper Kupp has looked slow? Puka Nacua has really kind of slowed down. Kyron Williams is good, but who are you guys looking at on that? On
Oh
that
my
game?
gosh. It is the Baltimore defense. I think a lot of times Baltimore is so strong with this particular defense, especially with the two middle linebackers.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they'll get some yards. I'm hoping Puka Nacua will probably get 5 catches, 56 yards, 1 touchdown because their defense is so good.
Yeah, you got to be careful because Kieran Williams too against the Baltimore defense. That's a tough one, especially if this is your week you're trying to get in. Man, that's a tough. Guys, last week I sat Austin Eckler in a couple games, and so you got to. Those are the kind of moves. If you got to get into the playoffs, you got to take some big swings, and this is one of those games. I think you're right. Baltimore's 7.5 point favorite. It's in Baltimore. I could see them really hurt. I could see the Rams not putting up a lot of points.
Oh yeah,
so be careful.
Jed, Tom, I agree with you, Jed, because I think you're going to have to look at matchups, right?
Yeah.
Especially towards the end, as you're trying, whether you're trying to get into playoffs or at least work on seeding. You can't just keep playing the regular players. Look at the matchups, figure out who you're going to play, and sometimes that might mean playing somebody different than who you normally would play.
Yeah.
Hey, look, Patrick Queen and Roquan Smith right in the middle. They pay attention to everything. They make them an outstanding defense.
Yeah. Roquan Smith is he's worth all the money. Patrick Queen the last couple of years has not been as strong. But if you look at his fantasy numbers this year, the last 5 or 6 games, all double digits, right? Queen has been good.
It's like the Ray Lewis combination, or it was Brian Urlacher and Lance Briggs combination. That's a great combination with those two middle linebackers.
Do you guys pay attention to projected points? Is that a big factor for you when you're trying to decide who to play?
I look at it, but I always remember that what happens towards the end. So projections are decent in the beginning, but what happens towards the end is they get skewed because of how they started. And so, for example, in the Yahoo, if you look at Yahoo, Austin Eckler is always projected in the top 10. He shouldn't be projected in top 10 anymore. It's because they're basing it off of his original position. And so I think towards the end of the season, projections are actually less helpful.
Yeah. And honestly, the numbers that I look at is I look at the total for the 4 weeks, the last 4 weeks. That's the number that I look at.
Okay, so that applies to this next game, Colts versus Bengals, because there's a number of players on both teams that actually are really kind of going into the playoffs pretty hot, right? We talked about Pittman. We talked about on the Bengals, Jamar Chase, Joe Mixon. Who are you guys looking at for that game?
Zach Moss too with Taylor.
Zach Moss is the guy I'm looking at.
Yeah, and Chase came back. Jamar Chase started to pick up that last game, so if he can continue that with Browning, you could see Jamar. I mean, Jamar Chase is a talent, right? And so I could see him scoring 1 or 2 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think actually, like, I'm not usually a Joe Mixon fan, but I actually think the last couple of weeks, especially with Joe Burrow out, they've relied more and more on a Joe Mixon. Yeah. So I think that's somebody to pay attention to, somebody to play if you need them.
The Bengals are 1.5 point favorites in that game. It's in Cincinnati, which tells you that NFL thinks that, or Las Vegas thinks the Colts are going to win.
Yeah. And honestly, don't sleep on Alex Pierce because he had 3 catches, 100 yards.
Yeah, I thought I thought Downs would be the second best receiver on there, but Alec Pierce is not bad. Downs has struggled the last couple of weeks since he got injured. So, Tom, Lions versus Bears. Who do you think is going to win, and who are you trusting on the Bears?
Well, Detroit needs to continue to really be able to solidify its home field advantage. I mean, they got into the playoffs, but a lot of times I think Detroit's going to win against the Bears. Amon-Ra St. Brown, Sam Laporta would continue to do well. But look, the Bears aren't going to be terrible. I think they're going to give a good fight, but ultimately Detroit's going to win over the Bears.
Yeah, Detroit's 3.5 point favorites. But guys, the Bears have played Detroit, Minnesota,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they played them well in Green Bay.
yeah.
They played them tough. So I think it's going to be a tough game, but I expect
Yes,
the Lions to win.
All right,
correct,
Jed,
correct,
let me
correct.
ask you a question. David Montgomery or Jamar Gibbs?
Oh man, Montgomery's been so good. He's been so consistent with his touchdowns. They always look to him for the thing with Gibbs is he has to score. If he's going to score, he's got to score from beyond 10 yards. Like anything first and goal from the 10-yard line in, it's going to be Montgomery. So I don't know. For me, I like Montgomery.
Yeah, but also remember it's a revenge game, right? Montgomery's going to try
Yeah.
to prove to the Bears. Here's my thing. I like Jamar Gibbs. He's starting. I'm worried about this game because I think they're going to feed it into Montgomery.
Well, they did last game. Last time they played the Bears, he scored a touchdown against the Bears.
Yeah. At the end of the day, like you said, Jed, the Bears are going to play a hard game. Detroit will ultimately win. But with the Bears, besides DJ Moore, there really isn't anyone you're going to, unless you're really desperate like me, then I'm going to play Roschon Johnson. In one of my leagues, I'm so desperate, I'm playing Roschon Johnson. Other than that, there's no one else to play.
Oh, I like Fields. I'm playing Fields. I think Fields could have a decent game here. I think it's going to be decently high scoring. I'm not expecting it to be a defensive fight, unless you got to check the weather too, guys. Be careful with the weather. It's getting cold here in Chicago.
Yeah. Well, okay, so here's the last three. The last three games in terms of total scores, 8.9 against Carolina. Against Detroit, DJ Moore had 18.4 fantasy points. And then last week against Minnesota, he had 20.6 fantasy points. So he's pretty hot, especially now that Justin Fields is back as well, too.
Yep.
Yeah. But you guys trusting Justin Fields? Do you think he'll have
I have to, because in one league I had him and Trevor Lawrence, and Lawrence out, so I got to. So I'm really hoping he'll come through.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
Speaking of that means a lot of times what you were talking about in terms of the last couple of games, Carlos Santos, field goal kicking for the Bears. He's been a good play for me.
Oh, he's been really good. Santos has been so consistent. I've been really happy with Santos. Just as a
Special
Bears
team
fan.
players of the week a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he has been solid, man.
By the way, on the side note, did you guys hear that? What's his name? Who's Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott might be your first $600 million player.
Wow.
It's crazy how much these guys get. But they were talking about between Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Micah Parsons, they got to pay quite a bit for these three players.
Yeah. Look, it was last year. We were talking about how bad Dak Prescott is. And even at the beginning of this year, we were talking about how bad he was. I don't know. Look, you got to pay him the money, but still, I think I like Dak Prescott, but I'd be hesitant.
Yeah, I'm hesitant, but I think it's a contract. He bet on himself, and they were saying, like, I mean, you, in some ways, you almost have to pay him, and you got to pay him a lot of money right now.
Yeah. It's like Kirk Cousins, right? He's a free agent. Who's going to pay him a lot of money? Who's going to break the bank on Kirk Cousins? Not really. So he'll probably end up staying in Minnesota. He'll sign a decent contract, but he won't break the bank with his contract.
Some people said Kirk Cousins is going to want $30 million a year for at least 3 or 4 years. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot.
Yeah. Seahawks versus 49ers. Tom?
I will say Seahawks now they're going to lose, but Seahawks have always played the 49ers well. But it does come down to the running backs as well, too.
Yeah. San Francisco is a 10.5 point favorite in that game. So you're right, Tom. You might want to take the underdog there, just thinking that they're going to lose, but they won't cover, because that is a big spread. And
especially for the Seahawks have not been bad. They've been playing pretty decently. Yeah,
but man, Brock Purdy has been good, guys. Brock Purdy, that last game against Philadelphia, he was on point.
Yeah.
Deebo Samuel, all those guys were on point. Deebo Samuel had a great game last week.
Yep.
Yeah. Bills versus Chiefs. I actually think there's 2 big games this week. Bills versus Chiefs, and we'll talk about Eagles versus Cowboys. But Bills got some momentum. Patrick Mahomes is struggling these days. What do you think?
I don't think so. I think the Chiefs are going to blow the Bills out.
Yeah.
I think they're going to crush them. Yeah. They're only 1.5 point favorites. I would take the Chiefs all day in this one. I don't trust the Bills.
No, I'll take the Bills. I mean, the defense is pretty good, but I still think that they're going to score, and I think the Chiefs are actually struggling these days.
Yeah,
They
but
are
I
struggling
think
a
the
bit.
Bills are imploding from the inside, and so a lot of times I'm going with the Chiefs.
Oh, James Cook has gotten better. I feel like Josh Allen's been better this week. The only problem is Josh Allen hasn't really relied as much on Stephon Diggs. If you've noticed, he's really gone after like a couple of other receivers, his tight ends. Stephon
Gabe
Diggs has not
Davis,
been
James
really good.
Cook, all those
Yeah,
guys like
yeah.
that. Yeah.
And there's that third receiver. I forgot his name, but I've seen him on waiver wires, but he's pretty good actually. So, yeah. Okay, Broncos versus Chargers. I only put them there just to see if the Broncos have actually done pretty well. Chargers have not done well. But are you guys playing an Austin Eckler
Ugh.
and a Justin Herbert?
Yeah, it kind of feels like you have to, but man, it's tough. That's why if you have a better option, like I was fortunate in the one league, I have too many running backs, and so I could pick like a David Montgomery. I could pick like a David Montgomery over an Austin Eckler, so that was an easy pick. But yeah, it's tough.
But the Sean Payton-led Denver Broncos have been doing very well.
Yeah, after that horrible start, they've definitely come back. I mean, they're 6-6. They're still in the playoff hunt. So,
As much as you criticize Russell Wilson, he does get you 17 points a game. Now, it's not spectacular, but it's consistent.
Yeah. Guys, who is that? Ezekiel Elliott, 11-yard touchdown run.
oh wow,
Yeah, they're up 21-3.
21-3. We'll take it.
Yeah. 21-3. I'll take
Man, I need Fryermuth to get something though. I've got him playing.
I know.
Trubisky.
I was just looking at Fryermuth right now, Jed, because you and I are playing together. He's only got like 1.2 points, and right now you're projected to lose by 4 points to me.
Oh man, well,
Yeah,
good thing
but
I don't
remember
need it.
who's throwing to Fryermuth?
Yeah,
Mitch Trubisky.
yeah, that's the problem. Good old Mitch Trubisky.
Oh my gosh.
You guys, last week, I don't know if you guys saw this. Last week, I sat I did not have a player in 4 positions, and I somehow won.
Yeah.
I felt bad for the guy I was playing.
By the way, Jed, I'm looking at your dynasty league right now. You
Yeah.
got 3 decent quarterbacks. You got Tua, Justin Herbert, and Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I'm holding on because I didn't want whoever was playing me to get either Justin Herbert or Brock Purdy if I dropped them. I was like, I don't want to face those guys, so I'm just keeping them.
But I'll tell you this: I'm looking.
Deontay Johnson touchdown.
Oh, there you go. All right, a little bit better game now.
Here's the thing. Okay, so I like Tyreek Hill. You got Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
But no one knows what's going to happen to Derrick Henry, right?
Yep.
Maybe he might not play because of concussions.
Yep.
Fryermuth isn't doing too well. Addison's not doing too well.
Yep.
You never know what's going to happen to a Gus Edwards.
Yep.
And James Conner is out. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in a little bit of trouble in that league, but we'll see. That league has been interesting from your keeper league because my defensive players have been really good.
Yeah, you got some good defensive players.
Yeah, my IDPs have been covering me in a lot of these games, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I actually.
Which IDPs does he have?
Oh, so he has Edwards from Chicago, a Lewicon from Jacksonville, and a Kirky from New York. All of them are doing pretty good this year.
Yeah.
My guys are pretty good. I wish I can keep my defensive players. Zaire Franklin from Indianapolis, Roquan Smith from Baltimore, and Khalil Mack, but he's doing well, but I'll dump him because he's too old.
Yeah. Going to basketball now. Halliburton. Did you watch that little bit of the games between Indiana against Milwaukee?
Hey, I gotta say, this whole in-season playoff thing has been great. Like, I love it. It's whoever thought of this concept, I think it's a perfect ground to give like a little bit of juice to say, hey, there could be some upsets here. Someone could really sneak. And you can tell the players are taking it seriously. Like they are.
But you know what the most annoying thing about these in-season tournaments? I hate the stadium floors. It is annoying. It is the worst. Yeah.
I was thinking I've never played on a court like that.
Yeah.
That's gotta mess you up. Like playing.
Okay, some stadiums are fine, but did you watch the Bulls one when it was all red?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't even tell who's playing what. Like that was annoying.
Yeah.
Halliburton could have gone to the Bulls. He's that good. Like we
he's been
picked
good.
Patrick Williams. We picked Patrick Williams
Yeah.
before Halliburton.
Yeah.
But Miles Turner did well today. Giannis did well. But at the same time, it comes down to the fact Damian Lillard, as much as well as he shoots, cannot guard anyone.
Nope.
He is so small and tiny.
Yep.
And so you're missing a Drew Holiday who had size. And if there was any I bet you they missed Drew Holiday quite a lot.
Did you know that Damian Lillard, from defensive rankings of guards, of point guards, he's like basically almost 30th. So out of 32 starting point guards, he's like almost the worst one defensively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But he scores so many points that he just kind of makes up for that. I mean, he had a game-winning shot the other day. So
yeah.
I actually
were hoping that the Chris Middletons of the world, the Giannis of the world, and Brook Lopez, but with Chris Middleton injured, and at the same time, who are you going to get as the shooting guard to cover for Dame Lillard? There's really no one there.
Yeah.
Unless they trade for Alex Caruso.
Well, that's the thing is, like, I think the Bulls, I think, is going to start trading some of their players. Caruso's a good defensive player. I'm not trading for Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan's actually not bad, right? So if you're looking for both scoring as well as also some defense, I would say go for DeRozan and go for Alex Caruso.
I hope they get rid of LaVine, though. I didn't like him from the start. I was like, this guy is not.
Have you noticed how well the Bulls are doing these days without LaVine?
Without him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, these days, honestly, like essentially you traded LaVine for Jimmy Butler, right? Mm-hmm. I wish they kept the Jimmy Butler.
Oh,
I know he wasn't always the easiest, but that guy brings championships. He's pretty good.
So good.
But at the same time, you traded for Minnesota for Jimmy Butler. Then Minnesota traded him for Philadelphia. So in some sense, actually, Jimmy Butler probably would have never stayed because he bounced around to a couple teams before ending up in Miami. So essentially, both Minnesota and Philadelphia got nothing out of it. But what do you call it? Man, I just lost my thought. No, DeMar DeRozan, he's going to be a free agent this year. He probably won't re-sign back with the Bulls unless you give him a huge contract offer. No. So get whatever you can get from him. The Lakers want him and Caruso. I'm not sure if I would trade it for late round, first round draft picks or something like that, but try to get into your bidding war because between Caruso and DeMar DeRozan.
Caruso's a pretty good player. So here's the thing, and going back to the Bulls, do you think Kobe White is a good player to keep on your team?
I didn't like him when we were first drafted. I have to say that he's gotten better. So he's certainly gotten more than, serviceable at this point. But for me, no, I still don't think he's like a cornerstone of a team.
Without Zach LaVine, did you know he's averaging over 24 points, close to a triple-double?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just a matter of them giving them a chance. Even Patrick Williams, like he's no Halliburton, but I think they just haven't played these guys, right? And these guys are now showing that they actually can play decently or at least work hard.
Yeah. Now, I would probably say a Kobe White is more of a six man than anything else versus a starting point guard. But yeah.
Hey, your guy Paolo that you traded for, he's been doing good this second semester or second year. He's picking it up.
Little Kenzie, have a good night, Kenzie.
So, all right, I got to put these girls to bed. Let's see what the score is. Let's 21-10, Deontay Johnson. So, yeah.
Hey, last thing before we go. Shohei Ohtani. At the end of the day, you think the Dodgers will get him or the Cubs will get him?
Come on, Cubbies. I'm rooting for the Cubbies.
I don't think he's coming to the Cubs. I think he's going to stay in California. Unless the Cubs get that Japanese pitcher.
Yeah.
Then he might have a chance. If the Cubs can get that Japanese pitcher, then they have a chance.
That would be awesome.
Second news, Jerry Reinsdorf met with the mayor of Nashville. You want the Cubs to go to Nashville? I mean, the Sox go to Nashville or stay in Chicago?
Stay in Chicago.
Yeah, he's not. He's just leveraging.
No. Hey, Jen, the guy is so cheap. Go to Nashville. I don't care. Go to Nashville because you're so cheap with the games. It's terrible.
Hey, did you guys see what, Mark Cuban sold his majority stake in the Mavs?
Yeah.
Did you see
and there's some rumors that he might go to Vegas.
Did you see how much he got though? He put in I think it was $350 million,
And he
but
got like
it's
over 3 billion.
yeah, I got
Yeah.
billion.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, that guy's so smart,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of which, Bitcoin's at 43,
Yeah.
$10. It's going to hit, my theory, it's going to hit 50,000 by the end of the year.
Yeah.
I can see it hitting 100,000 next year.
See, I want to sell out earlier than that, like, around 70, 75. Like, I want to get
Yeah.
out before it
Yeah.
gets to 100. And
How
then
much
just wait.
have you started accumulating more, or
Yeah, I've got a decent. I mean, I'm not into 6 figures, but I've got like 5 figures into it. So
yeah?
we'll see.
Here's my thing is I was like, look, once it hits 75, 80, sell a portion of it. But everyone says next year I'll hit 100.
Yeah. We'll see.
So 55 is they would said you want to pay attention at 55. 55 last year was when it started hitting, when a lot of people were buying, and it hit its high of like 65. But once people are getting their money back and at least making a return, zeroing out, that's where that's where you want to pay attention to it.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Good seeing you guys.
Good night.
All right, thanks. We're not meeting next week, right?
We'll see.
Yeah.